Hi, my name is Jim Nealon. I'm with the Sherborn Business Association. Today we're with Gallery 55 and John Mottern in Natick, 55 South Main Street. We're going to be talking with him about what he does here in this space. He has two spaces here. We're going to be exploring with him what he's doing here with his gallery. But first I want to talk to you about the Sherborn Business Association. We have three purposes for the association. The first purpose is that we want to be a driving force within the Sherborn community so that we can serve the needs of all of our local businesses. We have 50-something local businesses within Sherborn, and we want to try to describe what those businesses do, why we exist, how we work, and how you can use us better. That's one of the reasons to be in the Sherborn Business Association if you own a business, and one of the reasons to listen to this interview and understand what the businesses are doing within the Sherborn community. We also want to do want to be a clearinghouse for the Sherborn area so that we can inform all the Sherborn folks about the municipal laws, processes, and proposals that are happening within the community and within the government here in Sherborn. But today we're going to be talking with John Mottern in Gallery 55, and once the police go by, and we're going to be talking with him about what he's doing here. John, let me introduce myself. My name's Jim Nealon.
Jim, how are you? John Mottern.
Hi, good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Hi, good to be here with you.
Thank you.
We're here in Salon 1.
This would be Salon B.
Salon B.
Yes.
Salon B. What are you?
Very French.
Very French, okay.
There you go.
So we're going to explore with you what you do here in Salon B, and you have a salon next door.
That's right. So this is kind of a mini art complex here, gallery complex. We have a lot of different things going on, everything from silver smithing to three-dimensional art like the sculpture that's over you. We do a lot of flat art that you'd see on the walls, paintings, drawings, photography. It's also kind of a design center. We take on design projects. We do a little bit of publishing. So really it's kind of a community creative venture.
You got a lot of stuff going on.
Have a lot of stuff going on.
Speaking of a lot of stuff, what's this all about here? What's this?
Well, this sculpture is called Hammerhead, and this is done by a local artist out of Holliston. He only works in large, large format. We had an exhibit of his work here about 8 months ago, and it was a lot of fun getting the stuff in here. I mean, this is kind of a moderate-sized piece. This piece, that we'll look at, some other pieces, remember, are huge.
Okay, so you do physical large
Right.
pieces. You also do flat pieces on the wall. What do you feature? What do you like? What kinds of things?
Well, we really don't have any rules about what kind of art we show. We just wait to see what artists are kind of doing. If it's something current and contemporary, and we like what they're doing, we will promote their work by giving them an exhibition here. We like to do solo exhibitions. That gives an artist a chance to really kind of step up and show themselves off.
So how do you vet the artists when somebody comes in and wants to show their work? How do you vet that? How do you say?
Well, we start with a conversation with the artist and kind of see what their artist statement is. What are they trying to achieve with their artwork? And we turn down most people that approach the gallery, but if we see somebody that's doing something different or kind of relates to what's happening in the world today, we have kind of another hook for showing their work. And so it's a very spontaneous kind of process. There's no formula. We just basically pursue what we like and what we think is interesting.
And then once somebody is vetted and accepted by you, then they can bring their work in, and you do have an opening and then a show.
Right. Well, what we'll do is we'll work with an artist, and as the gallery curators, we'll choose what we want to exhibit. And then we'll hang a show or install a show. And then we have a fairly large reception. Several hundred people usually come to our receptions. The gallery has really become a community crossroads. A lot of events here. So people come and they see the artwork, they get to meet and hear the artists talk about their work. And it really is kind of a community experience.
Have you exhibited your own work here?
Very little, very little. I'm, as a photojournalist, my gallery is kind of in newspapers and magazines.
Well, so how did you get here? I mean, give me a history of.
Well, I've lived in Sherborn for 25 years, and it's great to be close. I used to have a studio in downtown Boston as a photographer. I initially rented this space to be a private studio for myself, and as I was renovating, a lot of people kept sticking their heads in and saying, "What's going here?" People were very excited that this space was going to be something interesting. So I thought, well, it's easy enough to hang some artwork on the walls, and that was kind of the beginning of the beginning.
And you mentioned you're a photojournalist, or have been.
Right.
Still are?
Still am, yep. And I do both editorial and commercial photography work. But less editorial work than I did through the 80s and 90s.
What do you mean by editorial?
I worked for the Boston Globe in the late 80s as a photographer, and then I worked as a contract bureau chief for Agence French Presse for about 18 years in this area, but traveled with presidents, worked in the White House press corps, covered conflicts around the world, major sporting events, that sort of thing.
What sticks out in your mind from all of that? How many years were you doing that?
I would say, if you add up all the photojournalism, 30 years doing it.
30 years, what sticks out?
I really enjoyed traveling with Bill Clinton on his journey from the governor's mansion in Little Rock, Arkansas to the White House, and that was very interesting to be kind of on the front lines of a national presidential campaign.
So you could sneak into all the places that he was and shoot the stuff?
Well, as being in the tight pool with him, we were within 30 seconds of him pretty much at all times when he was traveling. And then I worked in and out of the White House press corps for that 8 years, and then afterwards as well.
So that's the editorial side.
Right.
And the commercial side, then, you said you're a commercial photographer.
Well, for commercial, I have clients like Reebok and Harvard Business School, and you kind of fulfill their needs for marketing and advertising.
So a shoe on a table, you make it look good, that sort of thing?
More of a shoe on an athlete. They spend a lot of money on athletes, and so I would do kind of fashion editorial style shoots to promote the athlete and the products.
So does this tie in with your sports photography and so forth?
Yeah. A lot of companies would like a more editorial eye or a sports shooter's eye instead of a fashion photographer's eye. And since I kind of came from both genres, it was a good match for a lot of projects.
And you also do some publishing, perhaps?
Yep. Part of what we do at the gallery, we just started doing this, is we've published a children's book. And it was kind of a discovery in a local home. An elderly woman had produced this book about 30 years ago, and we discovered the cover of it under a pile of laundry in her house. And it took about a month to get everything together. In the meantime, she passed away. She hadn't even remembered doing the book. Most of the book was hidden in the house somewhere. We eventually found it, and we've had some very good press. The Boston Globe did a front page story on Christmas Eve day, and the book is kind of taking off.
And where will you market the book?
The book is going to be, we're self-publishing it. We printed it here in the U.S. The book is going to be sold out of bookstores. We're in about 30 bookstores right now. Barnes & Noble has just given us the thumbs up for the book.
Amazon, of course.
And it's on Amazon. We have our own website for shameless self-promotion.
This is the book.
This is the book here.
Called Rhoda's Ocean.
Rhoda's Ocean, and it's really a very classically illustrated, kind of reminiscent of like Peter Rabbit and the...
Who did the illustrations?
Betty did both. She wrote the book and also did the illustrations.
Why is it called Rhoda's Ocean?
This is about a dreamer, a little rabbit and her friend, a woodchuck, and it's really a story about how she had never seen the ocean, but she wanted to paint it. So she did it from what she had heard about the ocean in her imagination. And so it's a really lovely story about friendship and creativity and kind of the value of dreaming and fulfilling your kind of desires as a creative person. So this works for adults as well as children.
Does this tie into your dreaming and what you want to be doing?
I would say that it probably does. We really support and promote creative thought, creative process. The gallery is always taking artists that are doing different things and kind of giving them a venue more than anything to show their work to the broader public.
Oh, terrific. Now, your website shows a lot of different pieces of what you do. You have exhibits. You talked about the exhibits.
Right.
You have a photo studio. Is this your photo studio as well?
Right. This place converts into a shooting space for advertising fashion very quickly because of the high ceilings. So most of the photography gear is hidden away until we need it. And then when we need to do a fashion shoot or something, the place converts very quickly.
So for those interested in photography equipment, what kind of equipment do you
It's
use?
Basically big flashes, strobes that produce a lot of light.
Big view cameras, or do you use
No,
35?
we're all digital.
Digital, 35
Yeah,
millimeter?
most advertising is now in the digital realm. It's the quality is there, it's easy, and and it's better for the environment.
And what system do you use?
I mostly use the Nikon system, yeah.
And specifically, which cameras?
Well, we use this, the D700s, and you know, basically something that'll give us that, you know, 16 megapixel if you're into the technical side of it. But you know, for most advertising, it's going to end up in newspapers and magazines. We did just finish a project that ended up in 40-foot high, you know, illustrations outside of King's Bowling Alley.
So you blow things up, really big.
Blow things up. So you know,
stuff.
it just depends. Every advertising project has different kind of technical parameters that you need to work out.
And so you'd bring the athlete in here for Nike as an example, and have him run around. Give me a scenario.
We might do that. Most of my commercial work is on location. So if you know, we photographed Allen Iverson when he was Rookie of the Year. We would go to Newport News, Virginia, and spend 2 or 3 days down there setting up a shoot, and then do whatever the client needs, or on location at, for example, Harvard Business School, or Blue Cross Blue Shield. Most of it is on location, so we'll bring gear there. Every now and then we have tabletop stuff or a fashion shoot, which we can do in here.
So how do you go about marketing yourself? You talk about the Harvard Business School and Nike. How do you go to Nike? How do you go to Harvard Business School? How do you get known? How do you market yourself?
Well, actually, I worked for Reebok, not Nike. They would be upset if I said that.
Sorry?
No, it's all right. As a contract photographer. But the way that you market it is basically your reputation. For me, I don't do a lot of advertising. I just have a reputation
and that flows
as a, you know, as a national journalist, a photojournalist, and my work being in so many publications.
So Clinton would drop your name, and then you would get a.
You know, I can only hope he would. Yeah. You know, if he's not cursing my name. Yeah, what happens is that you have art directors and advertising directors, and they move around. They're at one company for a while, then they move somewhere else, and they know that you know, you have a certain skill set, and if they need it for a project, they pick up the phone and call you. So that's basically, you know, how my marketing goes, word of mouth and reputation.
And your own website helps with your marketing efforts.
It's you know, you have, as a business, most businesses need to have a website so that people can quickly, you know, pull up on their laptop and see who they're dealing with if they haven't seen you before. We have a website for the gallery. I have a website for my photography. Annette, who is the co-owner here at Gallery 55, does a lot of design work. So she has her own website for design and internet website building. So
talk about Annette. Who's Annette?
Annette joined the gallery about 4 years ago, and she is now a co-owner of the gallery. And we work together to kind of promote and choose shows and promote the new book we're doing. And she's been a great asset to the business.
And how did you meet Annette?
Annette and I actually went to high school together a long time ago, and we hadn't seen each other for about 30 years. And I actually had to go to Guam to do an editorial shoot, and she was living in San Francisco at the time, and we had dinner, and we really liked each other. And she moved out here about 5 years ago.
And what does she do compared to what you do here in the gallery?
Annette is really a very good designer. So she can, you know, on the computer mostly, she can design for scientific illustrations. She can put things together for websites. She did most of the work on preparing this book for publication. You know, a lot of little things that needed to be done and kind of refined. I mean, Betty did a beautiful job with it, but just before we took it to press, we just had to really refine it, and that was where her skill set came.
Some of the mechanics of getting it published.
Right. Exactly.
So you also do poetry here?
We have a woman who is part of kind of our gallery community, and she has run a third Thursday of every month poetry series here, where she has a guest poet come in, and then we have an open mic afterwards. And so there have been a lot of, you know, experienced and, you know, budding poets and, you know, musicians and songwriters who come to that and show their stuff and enjoy whoever the guest speaker is. But it's really grown, and it's very hard to get a poetry series to catch, but this one has caught, and it's because of Molly's work producing a good artist to come in and you know, entertain us, basically.
How would you describe the kinds of people that you attract here? Eclectic or mainstream, or what kinds of talent do you seem to?
Well, you know, the talent is I would say mostly contemporary artists. As far as the people in the community who come to as our patrons, it's the full spectrum. You know, we have really every economic bracket come in here. We have a lot of political events here. You know, different state reps will hold events here.
What would I do as a state rep? Why would I come in here?
Because there's an extremely homey feeling to this space. So when people come here, we really welcome them with very nice wine, and we always have good food. And the atmosphere of the place is such that people feel like it's very intimate. And when you're a state rep and you're running for office, and you want to have a group of people who feel like they're almost in someone's living room, this has been kind of a favorite spot.
And how do you advertise these events?
They find us. Don't advertise it at all.
And how do they advertise that they are going to be here? How does that?
They have their own constituency that they reach out to, mostly through the web, I would say. David Linsky is planning some events coming up here. He was going to invite the governor here for an event, and that may still be pending. So we're really kind of open to any sort of thing that people need a gathering space, and we don't put any parameters, political parameters or anything. It's a space where people can meet, talk about ideas, and it's worked out really well for that.
You offer the opportunity for a number of local community.
We're open to any suggestions of what people want to do here, you know, and so we do a lot of that. It's good for the gallery too, because you bring in new groups of people and they see what artists you're featuring, and so it's really about building community as well as it is about building an art gallery. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why it has been successful.
And so you've been here for how long then? Tell me again.
Been about a little over 8 years here.
8 years.
Expanded into the second space where we're standing about 3 years ago. And we're still in the process of renovating it, but it's really kind of just an old Soho style, the old New York Soho style art gallery. It's just an old building. It's got character and walls that you can hang art with.
The building itself dates to when?
Turn of the century, probably. Yeah.
So what's the life of the building been over time? Do you know that?
It has been everything, as I understand, everything from a bar. When Natick used to be a town of bars, I mean, upwards of 30, 40 bars, I think. It was quite the watering hole. And then before we moved in here, there was a cobbler who had had a shop here for over 40 years. And so when we renovated, we found some very interesting things.
Like what?
Well, we pulled off one part of the wall that we had to repair, and a whole pile of Indian head nickels fell onto the floor. And over the years, when he got an Indian head nickel, he would just put it up in the wall. And so when we renovated, we put all the nickels back on the wall and put them so they're still there.
Still there.
Yep.
Wow. So interesting place.
Yeah.
And so you have here now, you have this object here from the Holliston artist. Right. Tell me what's going on here.
Well, this is another artist that we have that we really like, and she does paintings of animals. This piece in particular is fairly political. She's a vegetarian, vegan, does a lot with animal rights. That aside, this is really a wonderful piece of artwork. It's very contemporary. It's very well done. It's unusual, and people are very drawn to it. So.
She's vegan and she's featuring McDonald's. What's the story?
Well, if you'll notice that each animal is kind of set in a very kind of spiritual way. They have this glowing, iconic, shield behind them, and then they have some kind of corporate link within the artwork. And it's basically talking about, for example, there's a pig down here from Smithfield Ham. Smithfield has huge pig farms in Mexico, and there's a very inhumane way of producing pork. There's no regulations. So, for example, that's her statement.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that it's such a beautiful piece of artwork. People come and they look at it, and no matter where you fall on the vegan, spectrum of how you feel about it, you're drawn to the artwork. And then as you look at it, people suddenly realize that they're also looking at something that's quite a political statement. That's not necessarily something we always do in this gallery, make political statements with our art. It just happens that this piece, that's an integral part of this particular piece.
And is this a political?
No, this is just an artist's whimsical use of found materials. Mm-hmm. He uses very large pieces of wood and trees that he'll use chainsaws and kind of cut with chisels, and so he really doesn't even describe what a piece of artwork is necessarily. He lets the people who are looking at it kind of, you know, make their own decisions. So, but again, this is a very big and bold piece.
And is this someone you've worked with before, or is this a new artist for you?
We've known Will for about 3 years, I guess, 2 or 3 years now. And we did an exhibition, probably had about 15 large sculptures in the gallery maybe 8 months ago. You know, so it was an interesting show.
So if I exhibit now, I could exhibit again later?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah. Again, there are really no rules for, you know, we don't necessarily formally rep any artists. We just kind of show exhibits and it goes from there.
And you have this is Salon B, you have a gallery also, Salon...
We have Salon A, or the original Gallery 55, which is right next door, and that's where our silversmith is, and we also do exhibitions in there.
Why don't we go take a look at Salon A?
Sounds good.
Good, thanks. All right. So John, we've now moved into Salon A from B, and we're in an area that looks very interesting. We begin here with the jewelry work. It looks like some interesting jewelry. Tell us about the jewelry.
Right. I would say about 3 years ago, we've had a long-term relationship with John Harwood, who's a very good local silversmith. He's been a silversmith really all over the country and working in the Southwest and up in northern New England. And we're very fortunate to have him here, and he does only original work. So each piece of silver is an original piece of artwork, and so it really kind of fits in with what we're doing here at the gallery, which is not only to promote an artist that we like, but to offer very unusual items to our customers.
Well, let's meet John. John, would you like to come and talk about your... John, hi. Jim Nealon. Hi.
Nice to meet you, Jim.
Nice to meet you. Hi.
I'm John Harwood. I've been doing this kind of work for about 42 years. And everything that I do is one of a kind. We don't do any casting. My wife also helps me. And we don't do any casting. Every piece is made one piece at a time. We do custom work. We do repairs. We do work in gold. We just don't advertise we do a lot of work in gold in today's climate. And I'm very fortunate to have John allow me to be in here as the quote artist in residence.
So do you like gold? Do you like silver? Do you like other
I like both.
metals?
I like gold and silver.
Okay.
I do a little bit of work in platinum, but very expensive, although gold is very expensive as well. I've worked in both gold, silver, and platinum, as I said, for 42 years, so very familiar with the materials.
Do you have a way of describing your style, of what you like in terms of your pieces?
I'm eclectic, to tell you the truth. I do everything from inlays to stone cutting to diamond setting and so on and so forth. I cover a lot of territory.
So if I'm getting married, you'd make a wedding ring for me?
Absolutely.
And if I've been married for 50 years, you'd make something else for me?
Sure, I'll make an anniversary ring or a pin or a pendant, necklace, belt buckles, small sculptures.
And also objects such as, what would you call that?
Silver goblet. And some of the pieces I make just because I want to make them.
And you make working pieces like goblets to drink from and things
absolutely.
like that?
I've used all of these.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
And they're always red wine tested so I can see if they have a leak. And if they do, then...
And who comes in to ask you to make things like this? What's your typical client?
Again, that covers a wide variety of people. I've worked for loggers and carpenters, and I've been fortunate enough to work for barons and earls. I've had a cross-section. I had a store on Chatham and the Cape for 9 years during the summer, so we had quite an influence down there. Had a store in Sedona, Arizona. And Arizona was very unique because during any given day I had people from 7 different countries. So you could make anything that you wanted to make, and there would be somebody who would be interested in it.
Do you have a traditional turquoise kind of Sedona, Arizona bit to you at some point?
There's a part of me that can do that kind of work, yes. At the same time, when I was in Arizona, a lot of people wanted me to do Indian-style work. Well, I let the Indians do the Indian work, and I did my own work. And it worked out very well.
And you still consider your own work to be your best work? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
I do. I do. I like my own work. And I'm finding that other people like my own work too, because it's unique.
And you're here all the time?
I'm here all the time.
Not down in the Cape in the summertime?
No, I'm here year-round.
Year-round.
During the summer, I sail boats, so I try to get on the water as often as I can. So my Saturday hours might be a little bit iffy.
So that's your relaxation.
Yes.
Just get out of here and out on the water.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, good to meet you, John.
Nice to meet you.
And along that bent, just the sailing bent, just to give an example of how, detailed John's work is, he did this silver sailboat, which has everything, the oars, the boom moves, there's an anchor, the centerboard goes up. It's just quite amazing. When we see things like this and just the love and the craftsmanship that goes into that, it sets him aside as a silversmith.
What material? All silver?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, whether it's an unusual goblet or a silver sailboat or a ring or a necklace,
airplane or a bicycle.
Yeah, it's really, John is an artist, and that's really why he's here and why we enjoy him.
And do you work alone on this?
No, my wife's been working with me for about 6 years. She's a massage therapist by trade, and she does this as an avocation. Otherwise, yes, I do work alone.
And what does she do versus what you do? How do you?
She does more of the earring work like this. This piece right here she did using scrap pieces that were left over from pieces that I did. We were joking around one day calling it leftovers because her style is to take whatever's there and make something else out of it. She's been a potter for years, so she's got an artistic bent as well. And it's a lot of fun working with her. It's nice to have a student, not an apprentice, because you can throw them a technique, walk away, let them learn it, then come back when you see they're getting bored, throw them another technique. And they don't have 2 techniques there, they have 3. And keep on compounding that and compounding that. And she's fun to work with.
Interesting. And she's your wife, so
and she's my wife, and it works.
Combination. That's a wonderful way to work.
It is.
And you enjoy it.
Very much.
Obviously, it looks like you enjoy it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, good. Good. That's terrific. Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So, John, we've been able to explore your Gallery 55 this morning and understand some of the things you're doing here and how you're doing it. Kind of, where do you want to go and how do you want to get there? What's your next?
Well, I want to continue kind of the idea of building community. It's always great to bring in new groups of people and to be open to kind of whatever creative process is happening in our area. And that said, we are having a New Orleans artist come in the spring, and that should be a very interesting and fun event. So I'd say we're just going to continue on this path of building a center of kind of creative thought and expression.
And in the meantime, you hope to build some interest for Rhoda's Ocean.
Yep, it's
Amazon with Barnes & Noble.
We're very excited about this book. It's just a beautiful piece of artwork that comes in the form and shape of a children's book, and so we're having a lot of fun promoting it.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
It sounds like a wonderful time for you. Right. Sounds
Thanks,
like you're
Jim.
enjoying it.
Yeah.
And best of luck with you. Thanks,
Great.
John.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.